lost in my little world there. Forgot I was actually recording for a second then. Hey guys, welcome to the Dits on Wrestling podcast. And episode 6. We are flying through these at the moment. Flying. We have a lot of stuff to get through this week. We've had Money in the Bank. We've had an actual uplift with Raw and Smackdown. Not as bad as it was in past weeks. Still room for improvement, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. What else did we have this week? Well, I'll tell you what we're about to have this week. Double or Nothing is this weekend, May 25th. Really looking forward to that. I'm sure many of you are as well. Just to see what those guys are capable of doing. So we're going to cover Money in the Bank highlights, Raw highlights, Smackdown highlights. No NXT again this week. I know. Terrible. I think I actually might have to stop including it full stop on here because I just can't find the time to watch it, which is incredibly infuriating. So what will end up happening is I'll binge watch it before TakeOver next month, just in Awana. And that'll be the extent of any NXT coverage that you'll get on here. Which is a shame because I used to love watching it every week. I just don't have the time anymore. And that'll be it this week. No news either. In its old format anyway. We're going to change it up a little bit. Last week I said I was going to do a quickfire news. It didn't happen. I just ended up talking about it in depth anyway. But this week we're going to try something different. It's just going to be headlines, then nothing more. I will read the headline a little bit about what it is, and then that's it. Moving on. And we'll see how we go. Maybe I'll stick to it this time. We'll find out in the next couple of minutes. Now, as always, guys and gals, you can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, over on Spotify, Stitcher, and as part of the SLTD podcast network on Spreaker. YouTube, it's hit or miss on there, whether I can get episodes uploaded. I tend not to bother anymore. I will eventually start to delve back into the YouTube machine when I've got some more content rather than just the podcast, but that'll be down the road. So that's where you can find all the places to listen to the pod. Now, enough of my rambling. Let us head over to this week's quickfire news.
Well, I'm afraid I've got some news.
Now, as I said, this is all going to be just headlines and a little bit about it and nothing more. So let's just get into it. AJ Styles has revealed that his latest contract that he signed in the last couple of months with WWE will be his last. He signed a new 5-year deal to stay with WWE back in March, and he said it's the perfect place for him to be. It's family oriented, and he has no problem taking his families to the show because it's a PG product. Another year, another Saudi show for the WWE, and once again it seems like there's going to be a number of stars missing out on the show. You've got the usual case of the women not going, standard, but we also have a lack of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, and Aleister Black. As of recording, they're your only superstars set to miss out on the show through their own choice, but I'm sure there'll be a number of personnel who decide not to go as the days near to Super Showdown. The wildcard rule in WWE continues to wreak havoc on their live events as another Smackdown live event has been cancelled due to its conflict with Monday Night Raw. That was the Kansas show scheduled for this Monday, the 27th of May. Thankfully, those who have bought tickets have a date rearranged, so they will now be able to see the show on the following Saturday. But WWE continue to toy with their live event schedule just because of this wonderful wildcard rule. Roll on. It's now been revealed how the first AEW World Champion will be crowned, and that would be the winner of the Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing, facing off against the winner of Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. And just like that, that is the end of the news already. Usually we'd go on for another 10 minutes, and that's 10 minutes less of my rambling tones. So there you go, that is the news done, which means we can head straight in to Money in the Bank highlights. Roll with it. Now, I don't know about any of you guys, but I actually quite enjoyed Money in the Bank as a whole. There was a lot of duds. I mean, this was botch in the bank when it came to the referees. Like, they were absolutely terrible at Money in the Bank. I just don't understand. I don't know if it was supposed to be real, or if they were just... Well, it was supposed to be conveyed as real, or if they were just messing up. I don't know, but it was bad. I think I'm looking at the match card right in front of me now, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 3 instances of referees messing up. There may be more. There may be more. But we'll talk about those. I'm not going to go through every match because I don't want to. And honestly, I've actually forgotten a lot about Money in the Bank. So I'm literally just trying to remember in my head what actually went down. So if it's a highlight, it means I've remembered it. So just straight off like the bat, just looking at the match card. On the kickoff show, I didn't actually watch this match. It was the Usos versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan, who seems to have dropped his first name recently in Vince's mad craze to just drop everybody to single names. Absolutely bizarre. They lost. Daniel Bryan and Rowan, the new Smackdown Tag Team Champions, lost against the Usos, regardless of whether it was a kickoff match or not. They are the new tag team champions and therefore should have been booked strong. The Usos would not have suffered in defeat. So a very, very strange booking choice there, considering as well Daniel Bryan was WWE champion about a month ago. Bizarre. Then we got into the main crux of the show, the main show. And we kicked off with a Money in the Bank ladder match, as we tend to do on these shows now that we've got the women and the men with ladder matches. It was a good match, the women kicking off. I did enjoy it. It was solid. They didn't rely too much on big spots, and that always seems to be the case with ladder matches. You've always got a lot of destruction. I mean, the men's ladder match was absolutely chock full of big spots, dangerous spots, all involving ladders, which was fun. I really enjoyed it, and we'll get into that. But with the women's match, it was more focused on just telling a story in the ring with the wrestlers themselves, rather than getting too involved with the use of ladders and stuff. But there was a couple of decent spots though. Naomi had her chance to shine. She did her little acrobatics off all the ladders, the splits, to dodge 2 ladders coming towards her. She darted across 2 ladders that the girls were holding, and then hit a drop kick on Mandy Rose, I think it was. That was pretty cool to see. Ember Moon did the best thing in that match when she hit the Eclipse on somebody. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Naomi, but that was off the top of the ladder. It was set up outside the ring. That was a very, very, very cool spot, and that was actually one of my favorite spots of the whole show. Actually, that finisher is absolutely perfect. I call it the Eclipse. It might be called the Total Eclipse. It might not even be called the Eclipse in like any way, shape, or form, but it is a spectacle of a finisher. It really is, especially considering it was delivered from the top of a ladder, and it was just delivered to perfection. Love it. There was obviously some low points with the match. Like, Carmella's injury, I don't know if it was supposed to be scripted. Looking on Twitter, and Mandy Rose's and Carmella's little spat. Carmella throws shade at Mandy by saying she was unsafe in the ring. So potentially you had something quite real there where she caught her in the leg, and Carmella then was attended at ringside by the medical staff, and she went backstage and the match carried on. But then she came out towards the end, did a little 2 minutes of momentum, didn't win. But usually when you find somebody that goes backstage and then comes back out, it usually is scripted, but I don't know. It might have been real, it might have been not, but Carmella seems alright. She wrestled again on Smackdown Live on Tuesday, so it couldn't have been anything serious. But Sonya Deville came down as the match progressed, and at that point, I thought Mandy Rose was going to win, and so did many of you guys as well. I did put out a tweet about it saying who you thought was going to win, and I'd say 90% of you guys said that it was going to be Mandy Rose. And I don't think it would have been a bad thing, because I think it would, initially, you would have had Sonya and Mandy together, united over the briefcase. But then I think you'd start to get a little bit of tension between the two of them, and Sonya would split away from Mandy, but as a babyface, which I think would really work with Sonya, which I think would be a good way to go. They've teased the split before, it didn't happen, so they're still friends now. But I think if Mandy won, that's probably where they would have gone with it. But Sonya got Mandy up to the top of the ladder, just like Rhino did to Christian at TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17, which, coincidentally, I will be covering in a bonus episode on Monday. It will be a watch-along, so watch out for that. There you go. Nice little plug for you there. So they got Mandy. She got Mandy up to the top of the ladder, and in came Bayley. Straight up that ladder, stared them down. Just complete intensity with Bayley. There was none of this lighthearted hugger Bayley. It was just down to business Bayley. She shoved them off the ladder, and she won the Money in the Bank briefcase. And what a moment it was. The fans were absolutely ecstatic to see Bayley win, which is really, really good to see, because I think when she came over to SmackDown during the Superstar Shake-Up, I think she got booed, which is just, it's mental. I think it's just her booking on the main roster since she came up from NXT. Like on NXT, she was such a lovable underdog, and then she came over to Raw, and it just didn't seem to work out for her. They just didn't know how to book her character. And she was such an easy character to write, and they have failed her, and I think the boos reflected that a little bit. But this got her some good cheers, so I think this could be the resurrection of Bayley, hopefully. And well, as you'll find out as the show went on, it got even better for her, but we'll cover that. Don't you worry. Going down the card. I mean, this is just a card on Wikipedia, so it's not in order. I don't think, anyway. Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe, United States title. I was expecting such good things from this. I really was. I thought it was going to be a nice long match. It was just going to be completely different to what WrestleMania was. WrestleMania was a squash match. Whether it was because Rey was injured or not, I don't know, and I don't care. The squash match just completely worked for Joe. It was great. I thought this rematch and Money in the Bank was going to be a little bit longer, probably within the 5 to 10 minute range. We got 1 minute and 40 seconds. So 40 seconds more than what we had at WrestleMania. Many people are saying it's because Samoa Joe got injured. I mean, you saw the blood coming out of his nose. I mean, he got hit hard. Apparently Rey Mysterio is injured again. He's done his shoulder in this time. It's hard to say. But when this is the first refereed botch of the night that I remember. Samoa Joe did not have his shoulders on the floor when Rey Mysterio rolled him up. Not even close. I looked at it and I thought, this can... Are they serious right now? The referee was looking directly at Joe's shoulders. They were off the mat, and he still counted to 3. Absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Now, the fact that they've used it as part of their feud on Raw, Samoa Joe is going to come out on Monday to talk about it, to say, he never should have lost the United States title. He's been cheated out of it by the referee. So it looks like this one was supposed to happen. Or they're just covering up. I don't know. It's a missed opportunity, though, to have Dominic absolutely destroyed by Joe. That is one thing I'm really, really disappointed about. When I think it was either last week or the week before on Raw, when he was walking after Dominic backstage. I thought it was, and then it went to commercial. And I thought when we came back from commercial, we were going to see Dominic choked out. And I think I talked about that last week on the pod. That would have been so good to see. But then I thought, no, maybe they're holding off. Maybe they're holding off until Money in the Bank. And then we'll see it then. And we still didn't see it. It's got to be something that's happening. Dominic would not be on screen with Rey Mysterio otherwise. It just seems strange to have him there and not to get involved. He's been doing training for wrestling, so he's probably taken quite a few bumps during that training, so he can get in the ring and he can mingle with Joe in some way, shape or form, and I just hope that he does. I hoped that they would have done it at Money in the Bank, but with... Is Extreme Rules a thing that's coming up soon? Is that the next pay-per-view? We've got Super Showdown, but I don't really count that as a pay-per-view. It's a glorified live event, it really is. And to a lot of people, actually, it doesn't even exist. So I think Extreme Rules is the next one. So maybe we'll see Dominic have a bit of a scuffle with Joe then. But no, Rey Mysterio won. Not a great match. Not a great match. Shane McMahon against The Miz in a steel cage. Now, looking back, I actually don't remember a lot of this match, to be honest. I know it was a lot of The Miz kicking the crap out of Shane, and Shane more or less no-selling everything. That he got hit in the back with the chair so many times. He actually got flung off the top of the cage and landed hard. He hit very hard. And he still managed to lock in a triangle choke, albeit a terrible one, about 30 seconds later. Now, if I'd fallen off the cage, I would not get up for about 2 hours. I would just lay there. But Shane somehow managed to get out within 30 seconds and lock Miz in a triangle choke. And yeah, it's just Superman Shane. That just seems to be the case of like his character now. Since he came back 2 years ago, whenever it was, and whenever he's been in matches, he's always been given the opportunity to look hard as nails. And I just don't understand it. He doesn't need that. He's a squirmy heel. Let him take the punishment and let him keep the punishment. Just don't let him just shrug it off. But the finish is the one that will get everybody. Whoa. I actually forgot the second referee botch there. Now, this has happened a few times in recent memory, and I've seen it. A steel cage match, all gloves are off. There are no rules. You either pin them, you submit them, or you escape the cage. It's as simple as that. There is no DQs, nothing. No countouts, none of that stuff. And that also means there's no rope breaks. But according to the referee in this match, there very much was a rope break. The Miz caught Shane in the skull-crushing finale. 1, 2, rope break. Unbelievable. Second referee botch of the night. Again, don't know whether it was supposed to happen. I'd imagine it was booked that way, because then we had Shane slip out of his jersey to win the match. And that seems like something that they would finish on rather than just throwing together like on the fly as the match was continued to go on from that point. It just two referee botches like that. So with Joe and his shoulders being off the mat, and then this rope break, it just seems so silly, and it just made the officials look like absolute idiots. But no, Shane won again by fluke, and The Miz should have won, and that should have been it. That should have been the end of this feud, but it's not, and it looks like it's going to continue at least after Shane is done with Roman Reigns at Super Showdown. But you'd like to think that this next match will result in a Miz victory. It has to. But even if it does, Shane will still be 2-1 over the Miz. Like, it boggles the mind. What else do we have? Tony Nese against Daivari. I'm not gonna lie, I skipped through this one. I actually caught Money in the Bank an hour late. It started at 12 o'clock over here in the UK. I generally stuff starts at 1 o'clock in the morning for us UK guys. So I waited until 1 o'clock, and then I started to notice that the pre-show had been and gone. I was like, what the hell is going on? So I was an hour behind, so I was trying to play catch up, fast forwarding through all the entrances and all the stuff backstage, to the point where I actually missed Sammy getting beaten up. Didn't even know that had happened until later on in the show. Tony Nese and Daivari was the last thing that I needed to fast forward through to catch up, I think, if I remember rightly. And apparently it was terrible. It didn't highlight what the cruiserweights were capable of. It was just a lot of groundwork. It's a shame, because when Buddy Murphy was the champion, when Cedric was the champion, there was never a bad match. There was always on the kickoff for the cruiserweight title, but it was always relatively good, and sometimes great with those two as champs. I'm not saying this is Tony Nese's fault. I just don't think the match was, well, the sounds of things, it doesn't sound like it was booked right. If you're going to put cruiserweights on the main card, let them showcase their talents. Like, Tony Nese is unbelievable. Like, his athleticism is better than most. So why was that not showcased? I don't know. But it was also one of the longest matches on the card as well, coming in at 9 minutes and 25 seconds. Yeah, that was more than most on the show. Looking at this, actually, no, it wasn't. No, it was. It was probably about in the middle. But yeah, apparently very disappointing. Tony Nese retained his title, which was probably the right thing to do. But maybe that we'll see the end now of the cruiserweights on the main card. See what Vince says. Here we go. Triple whammy with the women. Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship. It was okay. I could see that Becky was pulling Lacey through the match, and that's no slight on Lacey at all. I thought Lacey was good, but she's still relatively green, and that's why I will reserve judgment on her until I've seen her in more matches. Like, she's really been sprung into the deep end here with a title shot so soon. Like, after just wrestling once, she had the Royal Rumble and then that match against Natalya. I don't remember her wrestling another one. And then all of a sudden she's got a Raw Women's Championship match at Money in the Bank. Mental. But no, yeah, the match was okay. It was absolutely nothing special. And this actually led to a third referee botch of the night. Before Becky Lynch trapped in the disarmer, Lacey had Becky rolled up, and the referee didn't even count. He didn't even count. He was just, bugger it. I'm out of here. And then obviously Becky then rolled Lacey into the submission, and she tapped. But yeah, third referee botch of the evening. Again, whether it was meant to be the case or not, we don't know. But just embarrassing officiating on this night. Absolutely embarrassing. Then we had, well, we actually thought that was going to be it until later on in the show, but then Charlotte, the lovely heel that she is, just came storming down to the ring and demanded that Becky face her there and then, and Becky obliged and then lost. It was, again, it was a short bout. Becky had obviously just had her match against Lacey. So it was never going to go long. There was always going to be that air of Becky being an underdog in this match. I didn't enjoy the finish with Lacey coming back down, giving Becky the women's right. It fits storyline wise. It fits, so I can't complain there. It just seemed like such a bad way to go about ending the whole Becky 2 belts thing. Obviously, it led to what we will talk about in a minute, but I thought they would have carried on the Becky 2 belts thing for a while. And for Becky to fall to a big boot as well. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. It didn't even look good. It was a big boot. Like, Charlotte is not Test. A spear would have sufficed, or natural selection. She could have done that. But no, we went with the big boot, and that got her the 1, 2, 3. And then the moment that happened, the fans were going nuts for Bayley, and then the music hit, and down came Bayley. And this was a feel-good moment for so many people, and as somebody who watched NXT during her time there and seeing how good that she was, like this was a really good, like, return to form kind of moment for her. Like, she won Money in the Bank earlier on in the night, came down and pinned Charlotte to win the Smackdown Women's Championship. The fans, like, just went crazy. Like, they were chanting her name before she even came out. She came out, everyone was going crazy. She cashed in, she pinned Charlotte. It was great. It's such a great moment for Bayley, and hopefully this means we're going to get some good stuff with her going forward. When she won the Raw Women's title a few years ago, she was in the midst of a feud with Alexa Bliss, and it was poorly executed, and it wasn't a long reign. And ultimately she lost to Bliss, and I don't think she ever recovered from that. Winning the Raw Women's title was her downfall, which is a shame, but yeah, she's fine. Well, she's certainly recovered now that she's SmackDown Women's Champion. So hopefully this means good things. And it was one of the better moments of the evening. Roman Reigns against Elias, 10-second squash. Now, I say it's a 10-second squash as if, that was the purpose of it. It wasn't. The whole purpose of it was Elias being able to perform. And he actually performed a full song for a change as well, which was a nice little break from the norm. Roman came out just as Elias was leaving, threw him around a little bit, got him in the ring, spear, 1, 2, 3, done. Great booking. Absolutely happy with it. It didn't need to be any more than that, and it means that at some point down the line they can face each other again as part of this ongoing Roman against Shane thing. But that is all it needed to be. So good booking on that one. Seth Rollins defeats AJ Styles to retain the Universal Championship. Is this my match of the night? I'm not sure. It could be. It could very well be. It could very well be my match of the night, actually. It was very, very good, and it was just the right amount of time needed for these two. And I said it last week on the pod that if these two guys are going to go against each other, it needs to be a 15-20 minute match. And it was just shy of 20 minutes. It was nicely built up. as these matches tend to be with this length, and then it just suddenly hit its stride, and it just hit strength to strength to strength to strength, and it was a great match. It really was a great match. Match of the year contender, debatable, but it was definitely great. I would definitely give it a great label. The right man won. Of course, it was way too early to have Seth drop the title to AJ, and a loss wasn't going to hurt AJ at all. He's going to recover and go on to, whatever his next feud ends up being. But for a first match between these two in WWE, they've set the bar very, very highly. So hopefully we'll get another match between them two in the near future. Kofi against Kevin Owens. Again, it was the lesser of the two world title matches, but I still really, really enjoyed it. When I'm thinking about the match, I'm struggling to remember much about it, so I don't know if that says something about the match itself. All I remember is that I did enjoy it. I thought both guys really put on good performances. Kevin Owens was his usual fantastic self, and Kofi was showing, like he has done since the turn of the year, just how good he is. Like, it just seems once he starts to get backed by the fans, starting to get over with the fans, like he just seems to have changed gears, and he's just, it's as if he always had it in him to hit that main event stride, but for whatever reason he just wasn't able to just get up there. But now he's in that. He's on that level now, and he's hitting it consistently week in, week out. TV matches, he's consistently fantastic. And his first pay-per-view match since WrestleMania, again, consistently fantastic. I thought he was really good. He plays this role really, really well. I thought it was a good match, but I think it could have been a lot better. But I think for what we got, it was good, and the right man won yet again. Now the men's Money in the Bank match. Oh boy, I'm gonna. Yeah, I think most of the focus is on the finish, really, isn't it? There were some very, very, very good spots in this match. I think every single person in it shined in some way, shape, or form. Even Baron. Even our good friend Baron shined. Randy was brilliant. He did about, I think he bumped twice in the whole thing, but I just love Randy Orton. I think he's brilliant. And he was essentially just trolling the crowd. Like, he knew what he was doing. He knew everyone else was going to do the legwork, and he was just going to do his own little thing, and it was brilliant to see. Finn Balor won the rights of Crash Test Dummy. That sunset flip onto the ladder from Andrade, one of the most vicious ladder spots you've probably ever seen, to be honest. You had the one from Kalisto a couple of years back against the Uso. That was pretty brutal, but this tops it. I mean, when he bounced off that ladder and hit it again, it was a double whammy. But yeah, he was getting smacked into ladders left, right, and center. Like, he deserved to win the match just based on that alone. But no, he didn't end up winning the match. Ali was set to win, and by all accounts that I've read online, he was supposed to win the match originally, and then just before the show was told, nah, you're not winning it. Whoever attacks Sami and is about to replace him is the person that's going to win. And the initial thought was that it was going to be Braun Strowman. Incorrect. For Brock Lesnar decided to hit the ring, destroy Ali, and grab the briefcase. Good God. What the hell was that? After such a brilliant match. So that was probably one of my favourite Money in the Bank ladder matches that I've seen in, I don't know, 5-6 years. Like I can't actually remember a Money in the Bank match that I've enjoyed as much as that one. And then that was the finish. So much hate. Looking back, now that we've had a Raw with Brock on it and we've had Paul Heyman over on Smackdown this week, I'm not against it now. I've grown to it. Well, I think it's more I've just grown to accept it. Nothing I complain about, and nothing that anybody else does is going to change anything with regards to Brock being the holder of that briefcase. But just that in that moment, it was frustration at WWE. You know, we were supposed to be the authority that was supposed to give us what we wanted, and the ratings have been down a couple of weeks, and they bring back Brock again. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre, and definitely not the right finish. But we'll see how they go with it. It does set up a lot of interesting stuff with Brock going forward, having that briefcase. Not that he needs it, but we'll see. We'll see how things shape up. But that was Money in the Bank as a whole. I thought it was a decent show. Usually the pay-per-view after WrestleMania usually is pretty terrible, but on the whole, yeah, I enjoyed it. Now, I got some comments from you guys over on Twitter. A lot of it directed. In fact, actually, I think all of it is directed at the finish to the men's Money in the Bank match. So let's just crack on into them. At Fansided DDT said, funny they found time to put Lars Sullivan on Money in the Bank, but the women's tag team champions are still nowhere to be found. Yeah. The Lars thing was okay for what it was. I mean, it was very odd that he was attacking, a bunch of Mexicans, considering, the stuff he said recently. But yeah, even if it was just a really short match, it would have been nice to see the Iconics on the show for sure, yeah. At WrestleInc Rebel, so W Inc Rebel, the women's Money in the Bank briefcase story is already done. Brock calls the men's Money in the Bank briefcase, meaning we won't be getting a weekly teases or a new superstar getting a chance to break through in the main event. I get it, but I don't get it. Where are the new stars being made? Yeah, I guess, essentially, the women's part is done. We're not going to get anything with that, and with Brock with a briefcase, who knows what's going to happen. He's just like Braun last year. He doesn't need it at all, but there you go, he's got it. At Smarkmouth, the fans are the authority. Hashtag Money in the Bank. Yeah, we're supposed to be the authority, all right. Nope. At WrestleFeatures, can we discuss how all 7 of the men in the match absolutely killed it? What a tremendous effort from all of them. Yeah, brilliant. Like I said earlier, every single guy in that match absolutely shined, including Baron Corbin. I actually like Baron Corbin. I like to pretend that I don't, just so I can feel like one of you guys. What else we got here? Here we go. At King NJ90, spot of the night, which was the sunset flip onto the ladder. Finn Balor's back deserves MVP of the night for the punishment it went through. Holy SHIT. Yeah, he took an unbelievable amount of punishment. Unbelievable. At Smart to Death, he's quoting Stephanie, we're now in competition with AEW. Now, they did have a meeting before Money in the Bank just to talk about AEW and what they were going to do about it. Creative books Brock Lesnar to win Money in the Bank for a show that airs while the majority of their fans are at work. You want to know how you send people running to spend $50 on a new promotion? Book that. Yeah, that's essentially the long and short of it, really. You're gonna send people looking for other stuff, or just to make them stop watching if you continue to book against what the crowd want. at Keep Up With Kayfabe, my honest opinion, Money in the Bank was an absolutely great show. Lots of great stuff happened, and being there was an amazing experience. Yeah, it's really good that you were able to see that live. Would have been pretty cool. But seriously, F Brock Lesnar. See, I told you this was mostly directed at Brock Lesnar and their hate towards them. But yeah, that's what you guys thought about Money in the Bank. So yeah, I think the general consensus is it was a great show up until the Brock decided to come in and ruin it for everybody. But no, that was Money in the Bank. Let's head over to Raw.
Welcome to Monday Night Raw!
Now, before we delve into the highlights of Monday Night Raw, we need to talk about this 24/7 belt. What an absolute disgusting title that is. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I love the concept of it, and obviously I know it's not original because we had it with the hardcore title, 15 years ago or however, well, longer than that. So I get the concept, and I understand that it's going to give guys lower down the card a chance to be in the spotlight, and it already has. Looking at Raw this week and Smackdown. Plenty of eyes on people that we don't usually see, and over on social media, seeing what guys are coming up with there. Drake Maverick, R-Truth, even just calling the thing the European title is absolute gold. So I can see the benefits of it. I really can. So it's not me absolutely hounding this thing. The idea of it is more the design of the belt. It is rancid. I have seen some things that said that it was poorly designed so that while this thing was being defended in backstage areas or wherever it ends up being outside of the ring, if it gets damaged, it doesn't really matter. So it's like when you went to school and your mum bought you some crap shoes because you were going to be playing football in it and you were going to be kicking people, and thought, nah, we'll get you some crap shoes so you can do as much damage as you want to them and it doesn't matter. So I think that might be the case, but good God, that thing is ugly. And you got to feel sorry for Mick Foley as well. The reaction he got when he pulled that belt out was not good. It was just crickets and then just boos dotted around the whole arena, and I felt really bad for him. And it's the second one. It's the second title reveal he's had that he's had fan backlash. Like he revealed the Universal title. Everyone just absolutely just honed in on the fact that it was red, and Mick was just like, "What?" He's like, "I didn't design the damn thing." And he's had the misfortune of having to do the 24/7 belt as well. But not good, not a good belt. And the color, Jesus Christ. Terrible. Not that many highlights on Raw. Not that I've written down anyway. And again, I tend to forget what's happened, so I just try and jog my memory by what I've written down. I've got Cesaro and Ricochet here, and I certainly remember this. The match was set up just by a little WWE.com exclusive, which I do keep saying is some of the best stuff that WWE are throwing out there at the moment. So just keep an eye on for any WWE.com exclusive, because they're always good. But they had a nice little match. I really, really enjoyed it. Cesaro ultimately ended up winning. It was a short match, but some of the moments in there were brilliant. There was a moment when Ricochet just leaped up onto Cesaro's shoulders and backflipped off him. Like, it's just... I've never seen anything like this before with... Like, in WWE anyway. Like, Ricochet is an absolute breath of fresh air. And I know people are down on the fact that he lost, but he had the back injury on his side, so he can be excused the loss, and he looked brilliant in defeat. So there's no need to worry about where he's going at the moment, and I really hope that we see some more Cesaro versus Ricochet, because it was absolutely great, and that is the second in a row for Cesaro as well. He had a great match against Mysterio last week. He's had a good match against Ricochet this week, so he's proving again that he is fantastic in the rope, like between the ropes as a singles guy. But will he be getting the chance to shine from Vince? Who knows? The Usos against the Revival. Now this is really, really nice to see. Just get the jokes out the way, get the stupid pranks out the way, the ridiculous comedy segments, and just have them wrestle a straight up tag match where, you know, there is no comedy, there is no stupidness. It's just a straight up tag team, like two of the best tag teams in the world facing off against each other, which it should have been in the first place, and it wasn't. And what happens when you do that? You get yourself a good match. It got a "This is awesome" chant from the crowd. I thought it was fantastic. So many great little moments. The Revival back to their old fantastic heel ways. They ended up winning the match by pulling the trunks. I'm so glad the Revival won. The Usos could have easily won it, and we would have just carried on moaning that the Revival aren't getting a good chance. But no, the Revival won, and I'll be interested to see what happens next week, whether the Usos will be given the win back, as always seems to be the case with 50-50 booking in WWE. But no, a fun little match. Really enjoyed it. And I've also written down here in my notes, Shane heel. Now, thankfully I remember what that is, but that's quite vague. I just wanted to point out that Shane has been fantastic as a heel since he turned. And I've said it before on this pod, but in particular his promo on Raw, like, I really enjoyed it. And the fact that he keeps bringing up, like, to Reigns, about when he punched Vince in the face, he says, "How can you do that to somebody's father?" And it's just, I just love the fact that obviously he's done it to the Miz's dad. I just think it's funny. And I just love how naive he is as a heel. And I did enjoy him as a babyface, don't get me wrong. But when he's a heel, he's in his element, and is an absolute joy. But that's all I have. That's all I have for Raw this week. I'm sure there was more stuff that happened. I just don't remember it. Well, obviously the Brock Boombox is going around the bazaars. Some really, really funny memes on that. So please keep those up, because I cannot see enough of those. But no, that is Raw in a nutshell. No comments from you guys for Raw this week. I saved up all of those for Money in the Bank. So with that said, we might as well head over to Shane and Smackdown Live.
Welcome everyone to Smackdown Live.
A return to form for Smackdown Live this week. I thought it was a really good show. There was a lot more goods than there were bads, which seems to have been the case in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But no, I thought it was a really good Smackdown this week. Bookended by the New Day and, you know, a nice little main event between Roman Reigns and Elias, which isn't a highlight, but the New Day is. Big E came back this week, and they actually teased that it actually wasn't going to be Big E, and some randomer came out, which I thought was quite funny, which is pretty much essentially the reason why New Day are my highlights this week. That opening segment is my highlight this week. They're such a fun team. Like, they really are, and when you take into account how long they've been together, I think we're coming up to 5 years now, maybe. It's insane. Like, when you think about how negative we all were to them when they first came in, the power of positivity and all that kind of stuff, from there to where we are now with Kofi as your WWE champion, like, unbelievable. And they're still relevant. They're still over. They're still selling merch. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to split these guys up, because they are one of the most entertaining points of any show that they're on, whether that be SmackDown or whether it be Raw now because of the wildcard rule. Like, they are one of the best parts of WWE, hands down. And it was a very enjoyable opening segment, but like the New Day stuff itself. And then when Sammy and Kevin came out, Kevin obviously turned around and left Sammy out there alone. But Sammy's promo was great. Again, like this whole anti-fan gimmick he's got going on is brilliant. He was a Raw highlight for many weeks on this podcast, and for a good reason. I've actually stopped including because it's now the norm that he knocks these things out of the park. But really, really enjoyed that opening segment. Match-wise, Ali against Andrade was as good as you could expect that match to be, and I think this is going to turn into what Rey versus Andrade was, and I really hope this becomes a series because these two are really, really good together. Andrade dominated for the most part, working on Ali's damaged areas where he's injured himself at Money in the Bank. Then Ali did his spirited underdog comeback and managed to pin Andrade with a roll-up, which means we're probably going to get another match in the future, which is something I am very much looking forward to. But it was a really good match for what it was. And Ali versus Andrade on pay-per-view, oh boy, that'd be great. That would be a very good match. But no, really enjoyed that. Really, really enjoyed that. Really fun TV match. As was Sammy versus Kofi. Again, another fun match. Another good match. So Kofi just seems to be consistent. And I said this when I was talking about Money in the Bank. Ever since he's just become WWE champion, it's as if he should have been WWE champion like years ago. It's not like when Jinder won it and just kind of carried on being what he was before, which wasn't great. But Kofi has won the title and it's elevated him more than he ever has been. Like his matches have improved. I'm not saying that he was ever bad, but his matches have improved greatly. Just his promos have improved greatly. Just everything about Kofi has improved, and it's and that's trickled down to the New Day as well. As a whole, and it's just really fun to see Kofi's journey at the moment. And we got to see that when he was against Sammy this week. Again, another fun little match. I mean, they had their little confrontation during the triple threat match 2 weeks ago when AJ was involved, and we could see what they were capable in that match alone. When we were hitting towards the end of the match, and Sammy hit like 3 Blue Thunder bombs on him. This was always going to be a good little match, and it was. So definitely a highlight for me this week. Now, initially when I saw, when I went on social media after SmackDown Live, after I watched it, this was full of praise. It was just praise across the board for Ziggler coming back, and I actually remember seeing Ziggler. It was a spoiler. I was flicking through and it said Ziggler had come back, and I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Ziggler's back and he's attacking Kofi," and it's just like, what? I didn't realize to what extent he attacked Kofi. Absolutely trashing him around the ring and then putting the chair around his neck. It was an attack that was personal, which meant, just that alone, a personal attack is a lot better than just him coming in and giving Kofi a zigzag and walking away, because you kind of look at it and go, what the hell was that? What is the point? But I enjoyed that side of things. And then he came back out later on in the show and cut a really, really good promo about Kofi's position and how it should have been him. And he is the heel in this, and a lot of people, like, as the week's gone on, I've seen a lot of people say, how terrible the promo was, and how Ziggler, why is he getting this chance? And I mean, ultimately, he's getting the chance because we can't have Kevin Owens versus Kofi again because Owens isn't going to Saudi, so Dolph's getting his payday out in Saudi. Whether that means it will continue beyond there or whether he's just coming back just for this alone, I don't know. But people were just saying, it was typical Dolph, loud promo, just completely meaningless, just whiny and stuff like that. But he is the heel in this, and but despite the fact that he is the heel in this, you kind of sympathize for him a little bit. I've always been a Ziggler fan, and he's always been up there. He's always had a chance to break into the main event picture, but it just never happened for him. And obviously now it's happened with Kofi, somebody who you'd probably put on a level playing field with Ziggler in terms of where their careers were at one point. Now Kofi's obviously elevated now way above Ziggler. And Ziggler's pissed off. Ziggler's upset that that's not him holding that WWE championship. So the storyline itself that has just come out of nowhere is brilliant, and I love it. I just wish it wasn't at the Super Showdown, because there's a big cloud, obviously, over the Super Showdown just because of where it is. And I really think that this is going to be a good match. And I really think that this storyline could have been so much bigger had it, had time to grow. And not just be, right, let's get Ziggler out there, get him to do all of this stuff, attack him, then do a promo afterwards, just to build towards Super Showdown in 2 weeks' time. And then that'll be it. It just seems like it could have been more. And whether it will be more, we don't know yet. But I have a feeling it's going to be Super Showdown, then done. So it would have been fun to see them in an extended program. But it doesn't look like we're going to get it. But yeah, that was a really, really good highlight. I really enjoyed the Ziggler promo this week. But that was SmackDown. Like I said, it was a really good show this week, a really good return to form, and I hope that next week will be more of the same. If Double or Nothing delivers tonight, it's going to be tonight because this drops on Saturday. But if Double or Nothing delivers, then it's hopefully going to give WWE a kick up the arse, which means Raw is going to be good and SmackDown is going to be good, in theory. So we'll see how that goes when we hit the weeklies next week. But yeah, that was SmackDown. Really fun show. Really enjoyed it. Like I said, no NXT. So let's start wrapping this thing up and head straight over to the DOW recommendations for the week. I say this every week, but I really need to change that segue. It's absolutely terrible. So it's terrible. So every week I come up with 4 wrestling accounts for you guys to follow over on Twitter. My recommendations. And the first one this week is at Josh Robinson 00. He is of Wrestling Reverb podcast and Diving In with Josh podcast fame. He's a really good, again, this is a trend with the DOW recommend section. They're all good guys. They're all good people. And he's another one. He's from Down Under. I'm not even going to attempt to throw together an accent for it because I'll just insult that entire country. But no, he's a good guy. He's got some really good content on Twitter alone. But his Wrestling Reverb podcast is a really, really good listen. And he hosts that with his buddy Kevin. I've listened to a couple of them now, and I've hit the subscribe button on it. It's one of my weekly podcasts that I actually managed to listen to on the way to work, so I really enjoy that. But the reason I'm recommending Josh this week is because of his Diving In with Josh podcast, which I listened to. It's still within the wrestling umbrella. He interviews wrestling fans, but talks to them more on a personal level about stuff. And the one he did this week with Omega Luke and his football career was really, really interesting, really well done. And I'm really looking forward to future episodes of that, as well as future episodes of the Wrestling Reverb. Go and follow him. He's a really good wrestling Twitter account just to have on your timeline every day. A very positive person as well. There's a very, very big lack of negativity on there, which is always nice to see when it comes to wrestling, especially now with how things are going. But no, give him a follow. I cannot recommend him enough. This next one is purely a nostalgia thing for me, because I miss the days of wrestlers having Titantrons and video packages. Now it's just a graphic up on the stage, but when they used to have, just a little compilation of like their best moves and just stuff that they've done on their Titantron that all fit in with their music, it was always great. And we don't get that anymore. But if you want to look at old Titantron videos just for that nostalgia kick, go and follow at Titantrons. Simple as that. Every single day he puts up a new Titantron video, and it just satisfies like my need to see old wrestling. There's so many stuff so many entrances and music that wrestlers have had over the years that I've completely forgotten about, and some that I just wish that I hadn't forgotten about. And it's no longer a problem to me because of this wrestling account. So if you want your nostalgia kick, if you want to see old Titantron videos, and even if you just want to hear some wrestling themes that you haven't heard for a while, go and check out Titantrons on Twitter. Very, very good follow. Now, this next recommendation gets 10 points just for the effort alone, because I saw something as I was scrolling through Twitter earlier on in the week, and I watched the video, and I didn't know what the hell I was seeing or what the hell was going on. It was so bizarre, but I tell you something, it entertained me like nothing else had that day. It was a very enjoyable video to watch, and I'm talking about at Super Smart Mark. You might have seen him on Twitter. I don't know if he's over on YouTube. He might be, probably is. He breaks down wrestling events, whether it be Raw, pay-per-views, whatever, in a split personality format. So he's got it's kind of like a half and half thing. So half heel, half face, essentially. And it is actually really fun. I did enjoy it when I saw it, and yeah, he won't mind me saying it, but it was bizarre as hell. It really was. But no, I enjoyed it. So go and check him out, because not only do you get just short recaps that are less than 5 minutes, nothing like this where we're over the hour mark now and it's just me rambling on. Like his is entertaining stuff, and it comes in a short 5-minute video package. Like it's original, it's fun, and it's not going to take up much of your day either. So it's win-win. So go check him out. He's really good. Really good Twitter account, and I'm enjoying his content. So keep your eye out for him. Now, this next one is a bit of a cheat, because I have actually recommended the host of this podcast before, but because I actually listened to the first episode of season 2 on his podcast, I had to recommend it, and that is at Smark and Friends, the Smark and Friends podcast, hosted by Smarkmouth. Very enjoyable listen. What he does, he is essentially a watch along, and he brings in somebody from like the arts area to watch wrestling. But the stipulation is, the gimmick is that these guys are not wrestling fans, or they've just not watched wrestling for a very, very long time. And it's an interesting dynamic to have that, and it just makes it really enjoyable. I did browse through season 1's content, and from what I heard, I did really enjoy. But I thought, season 2's coming out, I'm going to give it a really good listen and see how it goes. And yeah, season 2, episode 1 is a great listen. So if you're looking for a new podcast to listen to, and it's an episode that will fill 30 minutes. So again, nothing like this over an hour. You can listen to it in one car ride to work, which is what I was able to do. Get yourself on, Apple Podcasts or wherever you can get podcasts, and download the latest Smark and Friends podcast episode, because it is really enjoyable. I can't recommend it enough, and I can't wait for next week's episode. And there's my recommendations for the week. Some really good ones again this week. I mean, there's so many great accounts on Twitter. It's just I just want to find the ones that are just just genuine, positive, funny, entertaining accounts. So basically, I would never recommend me, but these people that I've recommended so far in the first 6 episodes, they've all they've all made my timeline a more positive place to be, a more enjoyable place to be. So I recommend these people for a reason. I don't get anything out of it. It's just, I just want everybody to be able to enjoy their content like I do. And that is a wrap on this week's episode. A lot of discussion with Money in the Bank, with highlights of Raw and Smackdown thrown in there as well, with the introduction as well of quickfire news. I really enjoyed doing today's episode. It's been a more unedited episode today, which I really wanted to try and do, and I think the flow has been a lot better. So hopefully you guys have noticed that as well and have enjoyed the episode. As always, a big thank you for even tuning in the first place. Really appreciate it. If you want to catch any future podcast episodes or previous episodes, you can head over to Apple Podcasts. You can head over to Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker as part of the SLTD Podcast Network, or eventually on my YouTube channel. All my podcast episodes will be at those locations. Some stuff looking forward. We've got a bonus episode coming on Monday with the watch along of TLC 2 from WrestleMania 17, and we have the return of the Dits on Wrestling Power Rankings, which will become a weekly podcast episode, another bonus episode. It'll just be a 10-minute thing, but it'd be nice just to reel off some power rankings that you guys have decided. These are all fan-based, nothing that I've come up with. It's all dictated by you, so that should be really fun. But no, again, thank you for taking the time out for listening, and enjoy Double or Nothing. It's going to be really good. So enjoy that show, and I will see you on the bonus episode on Monday. Have yourself a great weekend.